You've heard the old saying, the show must go on? Not when they kill the lead actress. Head out to the Colossus Casino. It's the one that stages Broadway-style musicals. Stay alert. A young woman's life has been taken away from her. We can't give it back, but we can find the truth.
I'm Nick Stokes. Hope you're as good as I've heard, because we can stand to wrap this up fast. An event like this is the wrong kind of showstopper for all concerned. Let's go see where reality messed up the fantasy. I'm Nick Stokes with the Crime Lab, and this is my assistant. Are you with the production?
Yes, I'm an actress here, Heather Colby. I don't even know to think, let alone to say. An awful thing. Terrible. Horrible.
Miss Colby, we know this is difficult for you and everyone here, but we're sure you'd like to help. And you can do that by answering a few questions.
This was our tech rehearsal. Standard for any production, but particularly important for one like ours. You know, with so many special effects, like the shooting scene.
Hang in there, Miss Colby. Now, could you walk us through it?
I really don't have all that much to tell you. First, we had the argument, and then, of course, I shot Meryl and began covering my tracks.
Whoa, Miss Colby, was that just a confession? If you have something important to share, you'll need to know your rights.
My rights? Oh, I can see how that sounded. I'm sorry. By covering my tracks, I mean, what I meant, that's the song title. Song I sing in the show right after that effects scene. And that's just what I did. That's how it's scripted. Meryl at her mark, I walk on stage, shoot her, and begin to sing. But this time at the end of the scene, Meryl just, she never got up. That had nothing to do with me. I was shooting a blank. That horrible squib must have exploded. She complained about them before, said she'd been burned, but this? I never heard of a squib killing anybody before. We were old friends. Kind of veterans of the wars, you know? All the way back to drama school in New York. And even then, it was obvious she was going to make it. She had that combination of charisma and ambition that marks a real star. We worked together often, not a team so much as actors whose on-stage chemistry gelled so well that when the right roles came along, we got cast. Oh, I know, big talk, right? If we were such hot stuff, why were we still paying our dues in dinner theaters and regional productions? You got a right to say that about me, but not Meryl. She was nominated for a supporting Tony on Broadway just last season. And she's a star here in Vegas. She was a hometown girl, you know? And this production, she was great. Finally, the perfect part. And the buzz? People from both coasts were coming in for the premiere. I just know. I know. This would have done it for her. But then I guess this production was it for her, wasn't it? No, just the two of us, and Gus, the stage manager. He's also the technical director, and he insists pyrotechnic effects be rehearsed with the theater cleared of only himself and the actors. Safety's a big issue, and I guess you can see why. Well, he's around. His job sort of takes him here, there, and everywhere. I think the last time I saw him, he was heading for the prop room. Follow the signs backstage.
Well, the special effect was a gunshot wound in the chest. Happens to be next to a real wound of some kind, close to the heart. Never consider a gunshot wound routine. They're all different. Never miss a chance to swab one. You know what a squib is, right? Explosive that simulates an impacting bullet? Gun-related effects are dangerous, and squibs are high on the list. Incorrectly prepped, they can wound an actor. Often, metal plates or other protective gear under the actor's clothes protect them from the blast. This stuff is usually used in film, and I gotta say, I don't care much for the idea of them in live theater. Makeup appears to have been applied a little thicker here. What do you think? Whoa, some deep bruising peeking through that makeup. She had something to hide. Some might call this a woman's gun. Small caliber revolver. Perfect to pack in a purse, good fit for a smaller hand. Spent casing in the chamber. Is it possible that an actual bullet was fired out of this gun? Got some residual powder in the barrel here. When blanks are ready for a theatrical application, the bullet is removed from the cartridge, and a flash-producing additive is put in its place, like magnesium powder. Then the end is crimped. It's a mark, called a mark. Shows actors where to stand. It's used more in film than theater for camera purposes, but with special effects like these, those involved need to hit specific marks for safety, thanks to which we'll know exactly where the actors were supposed to be during this scene.
On my mark. It's still on the stage. Even during the run, we keep them there. Again, because of the safety issues. And, of course, Meryl was at her mark, standing in front of me, right where she wound up.
That's all we need right now. Sir? Excuse me.
What? Oh, you're the police, aren't you? I'm a little out of it right now.
Big shock to everyone involved. Nick Stokes, Crime Lab. And you are?
Clayton Regis, Meryl's husband. I'm afraid I'm confused. If this is an accident, why are you people here? I'm trying to deal with the loss, okay? And one thing that would help me is to know what happened here. Is it negligence or something else?
You can ask such a question. Shows why we're here, sir. And we're going to have answers for you and for your late wife.
Six years. 6 wonderful, happy years. The nomadic life Meryl led meant she wasn't always home. In fact, she was gone maybe half of the time. But the important thing was she was always there for me when I needed her. And now, I wasn't here when she needed me, was I?
Who could have anticipated this? Forgive me, but I have to ask. Any problems in the marriage lately? Arguments, fights, disagreements?
No, not at all. Hey, I won't kid you. It wasn't easy having an actress wife. On the road all the time. I'm in showbiz too, you know? I do various acrobatics, but it's all here in town for casino shows. Sometimes we'd argue about whether a job was worth it, worth her leaving our happy little home. Sometimes I thought she took parts that didn't pay enough or were just too small for a big talent like her. That kind of thing. Nothing unusual for a couple in our situation, and we always worked it through. Let me think. I guess I must have been at the Javanette and Brew. Took my laptop down there. One of those internet coffee shops, you know? It's just down the street. Anyway, I was coming back to the theater to pick her up, like always, when I saw the ambulance and the police cars. Well, when she's working on a show, she really burrows in and disappears into the work. I guess you'd have to say the only person besides me she's been in much contact with have been the other actors, like Heather and the director and such. I'd know him when I see him. If I've ever exchanged more than half a dozen words with the man, I'd be surprised. I do know Meryl met with him often, as you'd expect. He wired her up for the stunt today, of course. I have to say, I never did feel right about those damn squibs. What would have been wrong with a sound effect or something? It's not the movies. She said Gus was all gung-ho about it.
Hey. I amplified and graphed that DNA of yours, scanned it into the computer. Unsurprising discovery number 1. Substance you found is gunpowder mixed with magnesium powder. Unsurprising discovery number 2. Traces of plugging material. Gun you found was likely loaded with a blank, and was fired recently. This is a squib with a sound detector. Firing the prop gun causes the sound sensor to detonate the squib, but this one also seems to have a wireless receiver, for what purpose I can't tell you. Would seem redundant. Hey, this is an amateur night. Sophisticated setup. The blast plate was damaged, but that's not unusual. Explosive powder residue levels were consistent with a proper load. Our Vic must have felt a real kick when this baby went off, and no signs of tampering either. Just because it's a prop gun doesn't mean a little item like this can't fire real bullets. Can't confirm whether a bullet has been fired recently from this prop or not, but I can tell you it's a .22 caliber.
Not sure if we've got a match in this group.
Something you want? No problem. We'll bring the body right in. A single bullet entered the victim's chest, breaking apart as it struck the sternum. Fragments going just deep enough to pierce the aorta. Using a basic body temperature or alger mortis analysis, I've got the time of death pegged at around time of the rehearsal. No great revelations for you, I'm afraid. Straightforward stuff. Actually, yes, several metal fragments, presumably from a bullet. They're all yours. I don't need them anymore, and neither does the Vic. Not that she ever did. Whew, been a wild night, so I'm not as far with Ms. Regis as I'd like to be. Frankly, I haven't even cleaned and prepped her. Anything else turns up, you'll be the first. Meantime, feel free to check the body over. I've got plenty to do. Be my guest.
Yes?
Tiny bite-type marks. Clamping tool, possibly.
Small caliber bullet broken apart. If you don't tell Grissom, I'll make an educated guess. 22. These marks suggest a clamping tool. I may be able to match them to the right tool if you can bring it to me for comparison.
Yeah? What do you need, guys?
Ought to be possible. Let's check the IP traffic through the cafe's node and look up logins. Uh-huh. C. Regis logged in. Spent about 15 minutes online, then logged off. That leaves a little unaccounted for time. Not much, though.
Blank rounds, crimped at the end where the bullet would normally go. Explode just like a real shot, though. Quite a few different calibers here. They probably go through these pretty fast. Let's see, 9mm, 308, 338. Here we go, 22 caliber. Let's grab this one. Fairly complete print. Hammer, screwdrivers, etc. Nicely organized. Even a little anal retentive about it. Tools traced in pencil so he knows where to put them, which tells us one tool is missing. Small, rectangular. Sprinter mock cross trainers, size 10. Shots of Merrill, maybe during recent performances. These aren't publicity pics, though. Looks like candids. Bit of water here. Rifle rack. One of the guns is missing, though.